The general thing that I think every comic shop in America is looking for is a frictionless process. Saga was basically the gold standard for that. Saga was a book that came out 6 months in a row, same week each month for 6 months. It had one cover. It sold basically rock-solid numbers of copies, high numbers of copies to engaged readers, and then they'd go on break for a couple months and come back and do another 6, and they did that for 54 issues, and it was a goddamn breeze.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting, comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
Because otherwise it's going to come out and we won't have that Warhammer graphic novel or whatever.
Yeah, or manga series that we'd never stocked before.
Right.
But I was going to go in and add them to the, hey, Bob, your text just came through right now. Cocktail time. By the way, it was Mai Tais today after you left. So I was going to add them.
Is this recording?
Yep.
This is another one of those where I didn't know that until now.
You're fine. You're fine.
I don't remember if I said anything objectionable.
No, it was right in the middle of looking in the special order book.
Okay, got it.
That was when it was. I even went like this.
Well, I didn't know what that was.
It's because you don't look at me.
I try not to.
That's fair. So what I'm getting at is I was going to put those previous volumes in as a reorder, so they're ready for you in the reorder.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything in ComicSuite today because John had logged in and was in. He's still working when I left.
Oh my god.
Over 5 hours today.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So we had to do I'm going to shake the mouse to bring somebody up.
Yep.
One of the problems is the sheer number of accounts that get created from Shopify that aren't linked to any accounts in the system.
Yeah, but we usually delete those.
Apparently we haven't been.
I thought we were. I mean, granted we don't do it every day, but we can do it every day, I guess.
Let me put it to you this way.
Uh-huh.
It was when Ryan was there and Gina answered the phone and they were asking for Kent. And she's like, no, Kent isn't here until Thursdays. Then I see it filling on the computer. I'm like, excuse me, Ryan. Is that Diamond? She's like, yeah. I'm like, let me take over. I'm like, hey, John, it's Patrick. He's like, oh, hey. Yeah, so I log him in. So he was on all day.
Right.
When it was time to close out, I had a message and say, can I close out? And he said, not yet. Then he called to say, do you mean shut down? I go, no, just run the Z. He's like, that you can do. You can't shut down because I can see a scroll bar saying like 40 minutes left.
Yeah.
So he said, this is a much bigger problem than we realize. It's going to take several days. He has to give all this information to the programmers. Yeah, so just tell Dal
Oh my god.
that this will be a little while.
Yeah, it's going to be a little while.
And,
Jesus.
And he was literally on
Jesus.
for 5 hours today.
I've told them a number of times, and I'll say it again to everyone on the podcast. Our database is haunted. I don't know why it's so bad.
Yeah.
I don't understand why these programs they break in a way that elude normal fixes.
And this database is basically new since August.
Yeah. But it's built on the other database. So it all those ghosts just moved into a new house.
I guess. I mean,
oh man.
What if lumber from a haunted house is moved and rebuilt on a new ground? Where's the haunting? Oh, hey, look at this. We're exactly halfway in my notebook.
Cool.
I figure that once this is done, because this is basically all podcast notes, but there's some stuff in the back that isn't.
Sure.
I may raffle this off as some sort of like prize.
That's neat.
But I mean, it's my horrible handwriting, and none of it makes sense.
That's fine.
And we're only halfway there. So the first, and some of this was notes that I took in, I think, San Diego. Also, this is an old school promo notebook that we got when the movie first came out.
The movie Old School.
Yes. So podcast episode 418 was the first one in here. So it's 80 sheets. So it's basically 160 more podcasts.
Okay.
Before this is full.
Let's knock those all out today.
So it'll be a while.
Let's just record for 160 straight hours.
Yeah, so he was jumping back between programs and doing stuff, and I don't know I don't know why he wasn't able to do it yesterday, but it's probably a better idea.
Probably.
That I was around.
Probably.
And then just the sheer... And when I left, there's still 29 minutes of a program that he was running.
I think he was probably just taking a backup of the database and then uploading it.
Okay.
Frequently that's what'll happen because we've had problems before where a technician is just like, all the things that I'm doing to fix it are not fixing it. I need to take a snapshot of your database to give to the programmers so they can essentially like make a copy of what's wrong and try and fix it.
I believe that John is of an indeterminate ethnicity.
Definitely human.
So that's not ethnic though, but yeah, that's race-wise.
So aliens it is probably.
Sure. So there's a little bit of an accent when he talks.
Sure.
But accent or no, I could definitely hear the frustration in his voice.
Sure. I don't think there's anyone on the planet who wants to be digging around in a remote database for hours at a time trying to pinpoint an error and resolve it.
For one user.
Oh, man.
Like, I don't get
That's the worst job probably in the world.
I don't get the case or I don't get the feeling this case is not exclusive to us. Did that come off right?
No,
I
rephrase
feel like he's not doing this for the greater good of the program. He's just doing this for us. Maybe,
but I certainly like you got to think that if this is happening, one, like it could happen to somebody else down the line, so you want to have, a sense of how to fix it. But two, I think it's maybe something where something in the program is broken in a way that if this problem doesn't happen again, other problems will. So you better figure out why the system is making this error happen. So unrelated errors don't happen down the line.
I can't even imagine. I mean, for one, he's working from home, so he's probably more comfortable. I imagine the programmers all have, in my head, better systems at home than they have at work.
I don't know. Yeah, probably.
So I hope he's at least in a better environment to do this. Mm-hmm. And I do feel there were points where he's like letting a process run where he goes to do something else.
Sure.
Because there were times we didn't see any activity.
Yeah.
And I would pull up the notepad to say, like, hey, just jump in and do this thing real quick or whatever.
Right.
But the only time he responded was at the end of the day when I said, can I close out?
Sure. And for the record, Fast Support, GoToAssist, whatever you want to call it, has a chat function in it.
Oh, okay.
There's a little chat window you can bring up that'll then pop up on the connected screen.
Sure. I mean, Notepad works fine.
It does. I'm just saying.
I didn't have an issue with it. Did you see the report that I sent you yesterday where there should be a patch for importing all other distributor CSV files?
Sure, but yeah, I don't know how that's going to work with everything else, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, the importing is part of it, but how does it work with, initial orders and reorders and special orders and all? Like, getting it in the system is not my main concern.
Okay.
Because, you could do a kind of an upload. I don't know if CSV files specifically would work, but, you can import stuff into RMH pretty easily, but it's getting ComicSuite to understand what it's looking at and how to pull from those orders and that sort of stuff that is interesting to me, and I hope that's something that works correctly.
Well, the way it was phrased was that there would be a tutorial made to make it so it's clear for everybody.
Sure.
So I just assumed that was a level of optimism that we necessarily hadn't had before for the integration of not only Lunar, but other distributors.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the ability to place a reorder with, PRH on a Sunday that doesn't natively live in ComicSuite, and then take the CSV files from Penguin Random House and then re-upload those once we've placed the order back into ComicSuite so that we can receive the order through ComicSuite, so that we can, and this is huge, have back orders allocated within ComicSuite, because that's a problem right now when we place back orders through companies that are outside of the ComicSuite program. ComicSuite doesn't know that they're on back order, so that when the order gets received, if you back order a book at Penguin Random House, but ComicSuite doesn't know it's back ordered, every single time you run a reorder generation, it's going to keep asking you to order that book.
It's saying, hey, you're still out of this book.
Right, because there's no way for it to know that you have it on order.
Yeah.
And there's ways that you can, put into the system, hey, we ordered this. But if that book is back-ordered and comes in on a later order, it's maybe harder to find that. Certainly having something in ComicSuite is a little bit faster and easier and more reliable. So yeah, I hope that happens and it works and it's useful.
I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the goal. Whether that goal gets met, that's up for debate.
I didn't realize that back order function was an issue, but it makes sense.
Yeah, that's why, in general, I don't turn on back orders for non-Diamond orders through ComicSuite.
Yeah.
Because, Diamond has a function where, if a back order comes in on a later order, when you're downloading that invoice from Diamond, the invoice is flagged for where each item's order originated. So you can have, filled back orders and stuff like that show up on the weekly invoice, and ComicSuite will know to close out a previous order because that's where that item is essentially that's where it lived. It's harder to do that, honestly, even with Lunar, because even if you have a bunch of orders in ComicSuite for Lunar items, when you receive a Lunar invoice, there's no corresponding order form. Do you know what I mean? It's not
looking for anything. It doesn't know that order was created.
Yeah, it's only looking at what was pulled from the initial order. You have to go into the item later and go, okay, are there any open orders for this that haven't been filled now that I have the item in hand? And you can find those and close those out and whatever. So hopefully that'll be maybe something that can get resolved, but I sort of doubt that it's going to get to that level. But just something where if it takes 8 days for Penguin Random House or Hachette or whoever to send out an order, there will be something in the system saying, do not reorder this book. You ordered it 8 days ago. Even though you do a reorder every 7 days, the other stuff is coming in tomorrow. Please don't reorder it again.
Yeah.
That's not necessary. That would be nice.
Speaking of Hachette, so they kept having an issue with a credit card trying to put money back on the card.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, this doesn't work.
So that it is not that anymore.
Okay.
Basically, I don't know why, but they need to charge us for the book that they replaced.
Okay.
They put the money back, I guess.
Well, they did. That was what I was going to say. It was they kept saying, hey, this card doesn't work, yet on the 12th, we got the credit for that book.
Yeah, so they did.
So it clearly works.
So they did it in a stupid way. Basically, we had a damaged book from Hachette. We told them, hey, the book was damaged. And they said, okay, we're going to issue your credit and reship the book. So they issued us a credit, so we got the money back for the book. And then they shipped us a new copy of the book, which we've already received. And then they billed us for that new copy. That part, for whatever reason, they can't get to go through.
Oh, weird.
We keep giving them the same credit card number, one that they just ran for.
They just ran
for 20 or 30 times what the book was, and they can't seem to get to go through. So I'll call them again on Monday, see if we can bundle everything together. I have no idea why it's not working. It's very strange.
It's so weird because that money did come through, and they do charge us all the time.
And it's $6.50. We have $6.50 in that account. There's literally no reason for it to be declined. I don't know what they're doing wrong. Just we'll have to try it again. I didn't feel like dealing with it today because
that's fine. It's your day off.
Yeah, and also we got the book and it's $6.50. So
yep,
it's gonna wait a few days.
You've heard me complain the last couple of podcasts about the DC FOCs, where specifically FOCs used to be 3 weeks before the release of a book. So we had a good 10 days of sales to gauge to see what we want to do for the next issue. I mean, that's the whole point of the Final Order Cutoff, to get us as close to the ordering window as possible. And 3 weeks is the standard for single-issue comics, unless it has a chromium cover, unless it has a larger page count or some odd situation involved.
Sure.
It's 3 weeks. But for the last month plus, DC books have been 4 weeks out. So, for example, the books that are on FOC right now that I'll be doing tomorrow, because I could not do them today, for DC, are the next issue of Joker, which came out this week. The next issue of, Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries, which came out this week. The next issue of Wonder Woman, Superman, both came out this week.
Yeah.
You see the pattern.
I do.
Justice League Last Ride this week.
Great.
So I'm looking at...
Order less of that.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Oh, not to digress or anything, but been a bunch of DC launches recently that have utterly tanked for us. That and Challenge of the Super Sons were the ones where it's like, wow, no one cares.
Like Challenge of the Super Sons, we didn't do high on. We went a little higher than it used to be.
Yeah.
Figuring there'd be more number ones. No.
Yeah.
This
Green Lantern
Chip
was another one.
Zdarsky written Justice League book, massive dog.
Yeah.
Also, the cover is awful.
It's not good. I don't know that if you have a book like that, I don't know that Derek Robertson is your go-to guy.
Also, it's just...
That feels weird.
The three heroes looking angsty and not at each other.
Yeah.
Like, what is this book about?
Yeah, it doesn't really... And Last Ride as a title doesn't really tell you what's going on. Yeah, it's a weirdly conceived project on almost every level, and it really did not connect with the audience. Granted, we could have worked to hand sell it, but then I also really didn't like it, so I didn't feel like doing that.
And it's... I mean, I don't know. I just feel like if you're DC, you want to promote Chip Zdarsky doing your book.
I guess. It was...
But he also does Urban Legends, and how does that do for us? Better than Last Ride.
Yeah, maybe. Certainly with issue 2.
Future State Gotham, that's a book that's on reorder, or on FOCs this week.
Oh, yeah. Little surprised that DC had the balls to do a $3.99 black and white comic book that also includes like a reprint to pad out the page count.
What are you talking about?
Future State Gotham is black and white.
Oh, I didn't read it.
It's black and white. It's an Akira comic, so they did it in black and white.
Did you hear my disdain of my voice? I didn't even mean that. It just came out.
Oof.
I didn't read it.
So honest.
So anyway, I finally posted to a retailer group saying, did I miss an announcement? Is this standard? Like, why is this? But the president of Comics Pro has said they're going to look into it because they've noticed it as well and don't know why. So I feel like that worked out pretty well.
Nice.
I mean, there's no answer, but at least
people are aware of the problem, or that it is a problem,
and other people have noticed it.
Okay, good.
But yeah, that is super annoying because I can't gauge three days worth of sales.
No, I mean you kind of can when it bombs.
Sure,
but
like,
I mean, the 2 to 4 copies that you might normally go is like I don't know if I should go up or down on this level, but
so I don't necessarily think this is as a result of me doing the DC orders entirely. Like, I don't think you would have looked at my Last Ride number 1 numbers and said, oh no, that's too high.
I don't generally, I've mentioned this before, I don't generally change your first issue numbers because we're all just guessing.
Right. So, like, I don't think you would have been like, oh my god, no.
The only stuff I will outright, like, veto you on are things where it's like, sometimes for second and third volumes of graphic novels, you'll come up with a weirdly high number and I'll be like, I don't think that's going to sell like that. Like, if we sold, 8 copies of a volume 1 for a graphic novel in the first month, if you're coming in at like, we should get 8 copies for week 1, I'll be like, I don't think that's going to be how volume 2 goes.
I'd come in at 6, probably.
Okay. I mean, even then it's like, we have no special orders, and volume 2s and 3s are usually what we get caught out on. So I'll usually go down on those.
But normally I will look at, like, how did week 1 do? Where were the sales? Can't do that with DCs. They're not accurate.
Right. The DC numbers, I haven't looked at them in a while, but when I've seen stuff come up in Item Dashboard, it feels like they're getting more accurate.
I mean, I'm trying, but then there's things issues. Like, I think this Joker cover is not a good one, so order low. We sold out of it immediately.
Sure. No, I just mean the reporting.
Okay.
I mean, I mean the numbers the system is telling you.
I thought you were complimenting me and you were complimenting the system. I see.
No, I wasn't even complimenting the system. I was just noting, like, I think it's getting a little bit more accurate and easier to use. But no, I think your DC numbers are generally solid. Again, the things that where they're wrong are just things that we'd have no idea. I would have been equally wrong on. I don't know that. I mean, maybe I would have gone lower, but I don't feel confident enough to go, that's going to bomb. We should get out of the way of that. Like, I wouldn't expect it to sell that badly. And yeah, I mean, there's stuff like Batman Fortnite, like, we both missed the boat on. We both should have gone significantly higher on, and we didn't think of it. Yeah, I don't look at the regular DC comics as being anything that even with all the headwinds that you have as far as what you have to do and how little data you have, I think they're still as solid as they've ever been. So that's good. That's a compliment for you.
Thanks. I wasn't sure.
It was.
I didn't react to it.
I know. That's why I thought I'd put that in at the end, so there was no confusion.
Oh, man. This is completely off of where I was going, but Diamond has a sale on Captain-related products today. Okay. Captain America and Captain Marvel.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
But there's
Is it International Captain Day?
There's a Jim Steranko Captain America statue I never got. And I actually even bid on it at an auction, at a Comics Pro auction one time, and lost. And it's the classic Steranko cap, legs wide, shield over his head.
Sure.
And it's a reduced price. It's not like the DC $5 statue prices.
It's not a blowout.
But I mean, it's a solid 50% off of retail.
That's great.
The only thing is, it's one of the things I hate most in statues where it has a massive base.
Oh, sure.
So it's got this huge rectangular base, which is like, a star and some fig leaves or whatever. Not fig leaves, but like a olive branch crest or whatever.
Gotcha.
And then he's standing on top of it. And the dumbest thing is that his feet are spread out wide, and there's little squares under each foot on top of this thing. But it's so big. Yeah. I'm motioning with my hands how big it is, but
it's large. He's making a very large.
And it's the one statue I feel like, that's one I would get, but I never knew that was part of the base.
Sure.
Now I'm like, do I get it? Because I've pared down all my Cap statues to the Kirby cover of Avengers 4 Cap, which is a great statue because it's painted all metallic.
Sure.
And then another Cap on a rock pointing, which could be Steranko, could be Kirby, who can tell?
Yeah.
But this Steranko one is one I've never had, and I'm like, do I get it? And I showed Gina today, and she's like, that's that base is awful. I'm like, I know. It's like, what do I do? I don't know.
You should throw it up on the Comics Pro board and be like, does anyone own this? Can I take the base off?
Yeah, right?
Like, can I just have Cap standing on his own? Is he going to stand okay? I'm sure someone has that statue in their store or in their home.
I know John Dudas definitely does.
Yeah, so ask John
He's
Dudas.
He's the one who beat me on that auction.
Get Dudas to tell you, like, is the base necessary or is it just decorative?
Like, if the pegs come out of the base and go into the feet, maybe I could do something otherwise. If they come out of the feet into the base, boned.
Well, or just like
most of the time they come out.
How is his stance? Like, if you had
wide,
if you took the pegs out, is his stance level enough that he could just, or how is his?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Dal, I'm gonna do something a little bit different right now.
Go on.
I'm going to ask you to get out your phone and look at the email that just came in to see if it's good news or not. So I'll take over talking here so you can concentrate on that because I just saw it come up on my screen. So I assume you have it as well. If you see, do you know the email I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right
now. With the bag shortage that is going on in the industry, and we try to make it clear to people that we don't have access to bags currently. Hopefully in a month or two, maybe not. The main manufacturers are all pushing their deadlines back, like BCW, who's one of the largest suppliers. If you go on their website, like a few days ago it said July, now it says November for restock. So it's getting really difficult to get comic bags, and honestly, we're in the same boat as everybody else. Toward the end of last year, I had started talking with a foreign company. I believe it's Chenxin is how they're pronounced.
I thought Shenzhen is just a place in China.
Right, but this is spelled differently but pronounced the same way.
Oh, interesting.
Chenzen.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Shenzhen is a city.
It's true.
Chenxin.
Got it.
Chenxin is a supply manufacturing company, and obviously they have a different first language, so there's a little bit of a barrier, but there's been a lot of back and forth. But their website is not very descriptive. It is just, hey, we have comic bags, we have current silver, golden magazine. They don't say material, they don't say thickness, they don't say sizes or quantities or things like that. So, verdict, yes or no?
It's very over my head, but a lot of it is just, like, can we use this word instead of this word, or can we get this in there instead of that in there?
Okay, so they want changes.
But the changes they want are just we want to tighten this up
Okay.
and like close a loophole, or we want it to say this instead of this. It's doing the same thing, but we'd like that. I mean, if there's something in there that drastically changes our intent, it's over my head.
Got it. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you for indulging.
You bet.
That while I go.
Totally understand that inclination.
Yep. So anyway, I've decided, like, all right, let's pull the trigger on this. We will have to take a gamble, but we are just a single store in Chicago, and I made it very clear, like, we're looking at delivery to Chicago from China. We're looking at, this is what we want, and little by little, my questions are getting answered. So I finally said, and like to you last night, I'm like, hey, what if I ordered this many currents? And then this, and this for the rest. You're like,
right.
Fine, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, we would basically be ordering like months worth of bags all in one purchase, which is usually not what we do because it's expensive and difficult to store. But this was a situation where it's like the alternative is we don't have them, so let's see if we can make this work.
So I'm like, we'll take these, and then they come back with, oh, I'm sorry, it's a minimum of 100 cases per size. Okay. You could have led with that. Yep. You could have told me that at some point.
100 cases is 1,000 packages of bags.
Yeah. Literally 100 cases of bags.
Yeah. A case is 10 packages.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine. We'll just get 100 cases of bags. So since this whole thing started, the prices went up by like 72 cents per package. Mm-hmm. Fine. It's still a good price.
Yeah, just less good than it was before.
Right. But it's still better than we pay here.
Right.
And we have access to them.
That's true.
Like, all right, great. But you said you'd give me shipping. So they gave us a shipping estimate, and they made a point of saying this is the lowest it could possibly be. And it is, I thought it was more than the bags, but it's not quite as much because the price went up. Mm. But it is still basically the same price as the bags.
Yeah.
So it would be doubling
our costs.
And I sent you that email, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, all right. So doing all the math with the new cost and the shipping, it's still not a terrible deal. Uh-huh. It's just that we can't shell that out right now.
No, it's a huge upfront cost.
Yeah. And also, this is a product that we haven't vetted.
Right.
They did eventually say, like, hey, it's polypropylene. Great. I was afraid they'd be the cloudy polyethylene. Sure. They did say it's 2 mil. Okay, great. Those are the standards we're used to.
But without having like a bag in hand to test against like the boards we carry and to see how it feels, like it's a huge expenditure for something that we are rolling the dice on. And
they're like, hey, if you got like 300,000 or 300 cases or 500 cases, the shipping would be so much more affordable. Like I don't want to shell out for that. B, I don't have room for that.
Yeah, where would we put 500 cases of bags?
Yeah. Oh, we'll just close Sidekicks down until we can load it full of bags.
What if we stopped carrying graphic novels so we could store books?
Yeah.
Or cases of bags.
Do you think we get 500 cases of bags on top of the red shelves all the way to the ceiling?
Yeah. And then crush them.
Yeah. So that was like, oh, this may work. Oh, this may be an alternative. Oh, we just may never have comic bags again.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, oh, this is too good to be true. Oh, it is.
It is actually too good to be true.
And I get it. Like, maybe we should talk to a bunch of stores in the city and place a massive order. I don't want to do that work.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Who wants to coordinate all that? Who wants to collect all that money? Who wants to be the store that receives all that?
Right.
And then has to have everybody, like, drive their vans over to come load up their 200 cases of bags or whatever. Like, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't even doing that when, like, companies like BCW were offering deals on things like, long boxes and cases of boards. And that was faster in dealing with an American company and smaller quantities, and we were still like, no thanks.
The only option is like the only issue to that is that there's no other option currently.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I say I'm not going to. Maybe I will shoot an email to some other stores and be like, "Do you want to get in on this?"
Yeah,
but who knows for sure?
I understand.
Yeah, I don't know. It's it was like, oh, this is deflating.
Yeah.
Oh, I got something today that actually, it showed up today that we haven't seen before.
What's that?
We got an order from, I forget who does what. I think, who do D&D stuff from now?
PRH.
So we got a D&D book from PRH?
The Van Richten book, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, did it come yesterday?
No, I saw the shipping notification a couple days ago.
It's got a street date.
That's cool. When's the street date?
Next week.
Okay. That's cool.
So I threw it in with the DC books just to get it out of the way.
Sure. Did you put it in the system?
Yeah. Okay. That was easy because I could just import it from Diamond.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's a much better deal from a month of a discount from PRX. That's why I'm doing it this way.
This is true.
Yeah, but I mean, I figure put it on the new release wall.
Yeah, of course.
There's so few graphic novels next week.
I got the UPS tracking info from Diamond for next week's books, and I'm like, is this a reorder? No, this is the new books.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's because it's made up of onesies and twosies of second prints, third prints, fourth prints, A cover, B cover, C cover, D cover. Yeah.
It's a weird week of releases.
It really is.
But then Batman Fortnite 3, so I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's not like that's a huge... Oh, man. So this is another annoying Batman Fortnite thing. They pushed back the release date of the next printing of number 1 until after we get number 2.
Yeah, June 8th.
We'll be getting the second print of number 2 on the week after's books.
Yeah.
Like it's on the invoice that just went up for Lunar.
Right.
Do we call all those people who get 2s and be like,
sure,
hey, we have 2.
It's not that many people.
We don't have 1s.
Sure.
I know you wanted 1s.
Well,
we don't have them.
And then, the next week we'll call the people who get number 1, and when they come in, we can go, hey, we also have, here's 2, and we're getting reprints of 3 that week. So it's like, here you go.
It's just annoying to have them, at this point, push it back when we've been promoting that release date for
that's
3 weeks.
That is a pain in the ass, especially because it's not like our FOC on it changed. Like, we didn't get an additional week to get orders.
Definitely not.
It just took them an additional week to make it.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Not a fan of that having happened.
Yeah, not very helpful.
I keep meaning to do an actual video for this announcement, but I just haven't had time or energy or forgot.
That's fair.
So I'm going to use the same verbiage, basically, that I would have for the actual video, but now you get to be part of it, too.
Yay.
And I guess, I don't know if I'll still do a video at some point, because it's the right thing to do. But we entered into an international sales battle.
Yes.
With All-Star Comics of Melbourne, Australia, for Beta Ray Bill number 1.
Yep.
No strangers to a sales battle are they, nor we, as we both did this 2 years ago for Little Bird number 1. And Little Bird number 1, it was a tight, hard-fought battle that we squeaked out on the end by like 1 or 2 copies.
Sure.
Like, it was just down to the wire. We barely pulled ahead. And they were very gracious about it. For Beta Ray Bill number 1, it is a whole different comics retail landscape. So we jokingly said a few weeks ago that this is mired in controversy. And each store started with the same number of the A cover, the Daniel Warren Johnson cover.
Yep.
And each store sold through that whole order.
Right.
It's true, we sold it first. We sold through first. That's not the contest. The contest is who sold more.
True.
Each store did a reorder. Ours never fulfilled.
Nope.
Theirs only fulfilled 2/3.
Okay.
So they had a handful of extra copies of the first print to sell. So we weren't going to count those in the battle because we agreed on the same number for the first ones.
Right.
For the regular cover.
Right.
Well, since Little Bird number 1, this is a different I said landscape, because there were a billion variant covers.
That's true.
And each store had a bunch of people pre-order variant covers, whether it be on Pullbox or whatever formula they were using.
Yep.
And as it turns out, All-Star had about 4 more pre-orders of variant covers than we did. So officially, All-Star sold more copies than we did.
Okay.
I mean, bottom line, they did.
Sure.
And we wanted to be petulant and be like, no, that wasn't the deal, and we did this and that. But the last thing we want to do is be whiny Americans who can't admit when an official contest election is over and whine and cry saying that it was stolen and that it's not fair.
Yeah, it's tacky as shit.
It's tacky as shit. So we concede.
Yeah.
All-Star, you won.
Yeah, good game.
Good game. Extra special props to you for beating us with a Daniel Warren Johnson book when he lives in Chicago and shops at our store. I mean, he
didn't buy a copy of Beta Ray Bill.
It's true, he didn't.
He didn't.
And we did have people be like, oh, buy it if he signs. I'm like, we're not having him sign copies because All-Star can't get signed copies. It's not fair.
Yeah, that's completely unfair.
So it's all about fair play. And in the spirit of fair play, All-Star, you won. Congratulations.
Congratulations, All-Star Comics of Melbourne, Australia, if that is your real name.
I've seen it on documents. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. All this means is that there has to be a rubber match, a blow-off, whatever you want to call it. Not now. I mean,
No.
it was 2 years in between the first round and second round.
Yeah.
So I imagine we'll wait for 2 years. And I'm sure that in the next year or so, there'll be a book where we're both like, this is it. We'll be like, no, let's give it more time.
Yeah.
But, like, we don't want to burn customers out on this as well.
No, for sure. And I mean, like, I would do it for 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, but it's like, I don't want to do another battle that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Even though that's on FOC this week, and I do plan on ordering a lot of copies.
Yeah, because they have the new Pride cover as well.
3 covers. Ed Luz is doing the Pride cover.
Yeah. Did you see it?
Erica, yeah.
It's great.
It's great. Erica Henderson's doing the B cover. They all look great.
Yeah.
They're all great covers. We're going to order a bunch.
What do you think the ordering split is going to be for that?
Oh, I mean, I like
just percentage-wise.
Yeah, I like the Schweizer cover a lot.
Of course.
I mean, it's probably going to be like, Jesus, 60-20-20 maybe?
Okay.
Something like that.
That's fair.
Because unfortunately, like, because both the B and the C cover were solicited very late, probably don't have any orders for them.
Well,
they weren't in the monthly catalog.
Well, I mean,
or at least the C cover wasn't.
The B cover was listed, but it wasn't shown.
Sure.
As far as I can recall, this image email was the first time we got a look at it.
I want to say I remember us being in a line at a museum, and you were texting with
Kyle Starks,
wrestling boy,
Kyle Starks,
Wrestle Boy. He's a Wrestle Boy.
He's a Wrestle Boy,
and he had said that Erica was doing the variant for that. I think.
Yeah. He also said that this is 100% a Challenger's book. And
did you see we're in the
I
press
did.
now?
I did, yeah.
Contest of Challengers got a pull quote on a sales email.
An image press release, yeah. For 6 Sidekicks. It's the first one, too. We are above Chip Zdarsky.
Ridiculous.
We are above... Who is the third one?
I'd have to pull up the email.
Some other large industry figure, but we're the first one.
Crazy.
I mean, it's
a real podcast now.
It's literally a quote that was said in this podcast.
It was.
But I wondered if it wouldn't have worked better for the quote if it was attributed to Challengers Comics.
I don't know.
Because it also doesn't say podcast, it just says Contest of Challengers.
But that's the thing. Like, I think Contest of Challengers is maybe an easier thing for them to promote because that's a kind of... That's not a retailer saying, I like this thing. That's a podcast saying,
yeah, but then when you put, podcast?
No. Okay. They don't need to. It's so well known
in the industry, yeah.
That they can just go Contest of Challengers. Why not just put COC? Come on.
Yeah. Because corrosion of conformity is what comes to most people's minds when you hear COC.
Yeah.
But the Pepper Keenan stuff, really, not the Ulrich stuff, which is, I don't know, that's always makes you wonder. Yeah, that's pretty great.
That was ridiculous.
Arun had asked if he could do that. I'm like, yeah, of course.
Sure. If it helps, anything that helps the industry.
Sure.
That's what this podcast is all about, Patrick, helping the
comics
industry.
It's funny how, because Arun listens, he got that on his own, and whilst I had been talking with Russell Boy, Kyle Starks, and Man's Man, Chris Schweizer, about the book in general, Arun approached me and said, hey, can I use this?
Sure.
I, at the same time, was trying to get Pornsack to use a quote that I had come up with.
You were very
for
proud
Good
of it.
Asian, and I was super proud of it.
Very proud of it.
But and
couldn't quite get there.
Nope. It's great because and I can't remember. I know I told you, but I don't know. It was on the podcast. Sometimes if a creator sends a PDF and I love the book, I'll respond back with, "Hey, this is great. Thanks so much for sending it. It really helps us get the ordering." Like we did it with Dan Waters and Homesick Pilots. Obviously, I talked about it recently for Time Before Time with Declan Shalvey. And I sent Pornsack an email because he's like, hey, if we want to reach out, here's my email.
Sure.
Because he'd said when he gave us the PDFs. And so I did the whole this is great, blah, blah, blah. Here's what we think. And he responded, as he should, with, hey, great, thanks so much. I'm glad you like it. Thank you for the support. Which I get as, oh, that's a blow off. Which fine.
Yeah.
Like you got books to write. You don't need to.
We don't need to be best friends.
Right. And he didn't have to respond at all. Sure. We got an email today. Somebody sent a panel of a comic and said, "You know what this is from? It's for a trivia contest." Man. And I responded. I'm like, "No." And there's a book called Bolivar, but it's not that.
Nope.
And he said, "Oh, thank you for responding." And I'm like, I was going to ignore this, but I mean, I couldn't get on ComicSuite to do what I needed to do, so I'm like,
might as well answer.
I'll respond to this.
Caught you on a good day.
Yeah, but yeah. So in our weekly email where we're pointing out books that are coming soon that we're excited for, most of them have come out now. because they were Time Before Time, they were Marjorie Finnegan, they were The Good Asian, and the last of that batch is the 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, and that's still got a couple weeks before it comes out. So I haven't, like, that was a slew of PDFs I was reading to catch up on things. Yeah. Like, I read Frank Cho's Fight Girls.
Okay.
And it's fine. It's exactly what you want from a Frank Cho book.
Sure.
But I don't know that I'm going to be like, you guys, Fight Girls, look at this.
No, I feel like just saying Frank Cho's Fight Girls pretty much tells you whether you want to read it or not.
Yeah, and it lets the audience know that it's there.
That it's by Frank Cho.
It was entertaining.
That's the main thing.
It was entertaining.
Okay.
But there's just not anything... are you behind on PDFs as well like I am?
Yeah, a little bit. I got a couple things. Basilisk I got to read.
Yeah, same.
And there's... God, I can't remember the name of the other book. It's like... I'd have to look at my hard drive. I don't remember what it's called. But there's another book from Boom or from Vault or from Aftershock or somebody recently. But honestly, neither of them were ones where I'm like, I can't wait to read this. It's just like, I'll read them. Hopefully they'll be good.
Yeah, Basilisk is Boom, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Cullen Bunn, we had club member Eric Grothin today, who is really in the Kaiju Max train right now.
Yeah, he is.
And he was asking for something like, what should I do next? What should I, like, something I want to dig into with a a rich mythology, like a Kaiju Max.
Sure.
So I'm like, have you ever heard of a book called The Sixth Gun?
That's a good one.
And he had not.
For a second, I'm like, is he going to go Harrow County on this? That's a stretch. I mean, it's a good idea, but it's a bit of a stretch.
Lit up and
Sixth
just
Gun,
running around the store. Look at that original art piece we have over here. Look at this book plate they did. Look at this art from the bookmark.
Look at my arm.
I didn't go that far. That's weird.
No.
Like, I'll mention it in an email, but I'm not going to throw it in someone's face.
What, that you got tattoos?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, a subscriber was wondering, you had mentioned in...
I did, and that's my point. I'll mention it, but I'm not going to throw it in people's faces.
No, well, I'm going to
say... I'm not going to respond to questions.
Well, so, like, I guess I'd said, I'll ask him on the podcast. What are your 2 Joelle Jones?
Oh, man, speaking of podcast questions, we got a question we got to answer.
Oh, what was it?
I was hoping you remembered.
Oh,
what makes you money?
I can.
You remember that one?
Do you need the exact phrasing?
No.
Oh, listener Ryan Alcock had shot us an email responding to my completely out of character scourging of Bad Idea for a recent marketing attempt. Specifically the Hank Howard Pizza Detective $1 one-day comic book.
Let me just jump right in here, if I may, and say that it was a big fear of mine that we were going to find out at the end of the day, Wednesday or early Thursday, that Bad Idea was going to say to retailers,
graciously,
just kidding, you can have them all, you can keep them all.
You can sell them, you can keep selling them, go ahead. And I told you, like, if they do that, and I went through all this trouble, all these hoops I had to jump through to make this stupid one-day thing happen, and then they're like, haha, Infinity Days! Like, we literally would have stopped carrying Bad Idea comics. Like, that would have been the final straw for me, is like, how dare you? How dare you put me to all this trouble and then pull the rug out? Thankfully, they didn't do that, so that's awesome. We are still a Bad Idea destination store.
And that's just us thinking of the worst. That they didn't do it. Like, we're not mad at them for...
Like, parenthetically... The fact that that's where our mind went, where we were, like, legitimately afraid that they would have made us do weeks of work for no reason is like, maybe a pretty big indictment of where our heads are at in regards to Bad Ideas marketing.
In no way undermining any trauma anyone has suffered in any way, shape, or form. It's almost like an abused spouse syndrome. Like, we're expecting it to happen. Like,
oh yeah,
but I don't. I think that's a really bad analogy because I don't want to.
That's maybe a bit far. But it's certainly like a scenario where we are waiting for the other shoe to drop.
We're so used to their announcements
every single project
harming us that
I suppose
we were braced for it.
Yeah,
but I don't want to make that seem like I was comparing it in any way to actual.
Yeah, I would maybe not make that comparison. Yeah. But getting back to Ryan's question, he had wondered, since we were critical of the idea of having to do all this work for a comic book that was making us $1, what's the other side of that? Who are the publishers? What are the projects that are the most profitable for us? I'm sure I'm getting the phrasing wrong because I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like the question was basically like,
who makes you money?
Yeah, who is the good publisher? And I don't know that I would say it's any one particular publisher, but like the general thing that I think every comic shop in America is looking for is a frictionless process. Saga was basically the gold standard for that. Saga was a book that, came out 6 months in a row, same week each month for 6 months. It had one cover. It sold basically rock solid numbers of copies, high numbers of copies to engaged readers. And then they'd go on break for a couple months and come back and do another 6. And they did that for 54 issues. And it was a goddamn breeze.
Did we talk about the potential Saga return, which is the worst case scenario for us?
No, it wasn't.
Free Comic Book Day.
Oh,
because Image's only Free Comic Day announcement was Lady Mechanica.
Yeah, but that's pretty standard for them. I think they had it. Do they not have it? I think they have a silver book. Do they not?
I don't remember.
They do. It's Stray Dogs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry, Stray Dogs. I'm sorry, Tony. I don't mean to in any way undermine that book, because that's a great
it's
comic.
Really great. I'm glad we're going to have the opportunity to give it to people like that. No, I mean, it's possible that they could release it that week just normally. I don't know that would be a worst case scenario for us anymore based on all the new CDC guidelines over the last few days.
No, I just mean...
I'm certainly less nervous about that.
No, I mean them giving it away.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that would be terrible. Like, the only problem we really ever had with Saga was the 25-cent comic, because it's like, besides that, not coming out for several years.
3 years and counting.
But when it was coming out, the 25-cent comic was the one where it's like, awesome, so I'm not going to sell any more of this necessarily because it's the middle of a run and people are not just going to like pick up and get into this comic at that level, setting aside the fact that the story inside was completely not new reader friendly. You were basically just asking stores to, instead of making $3 on the comic book or selling it for $3, we were selling it for 25 cents. So instead of making $1.50, we were making like 12 or 15 cents. We were making 10% what we would have normally made. The upshot was like, here's some lithographs. No one cared about the lithographs.
Nope.
Didn't matter. Didn't make up for that money. So that aside, every other issue was a goddamn breeze, because you just order a similar number of copies because no one's jumping on and off for different characters or different arcs. It's the same 2 creators doing it every month. It comes out on a strict schedule. You can predict when it's going to come out and how often it's going to come out. When they're going on a break, they tell you we're going on a break. We're going to be back this month. And then you just do another 6 issues, and you just go and go and go. That is the ideal scenario for every comic shop in America, because it is incredibly easy to make sure you order the right number of copies and not get stuck with stuff. Every other publisher, every other comic on the stands, harder to do that. Even the ones like Batman, where it's like, Batman sells great because it sells the most for any DC ongoing superhero comic. But even that has peaks and valleys and crossovers and special events and fill-in artists and, multiple issues one month and maybe a story that goes into an annual here. So even that book, which is in some ways kind of the bedrock of DC's publishing, is prone to getting us to be unprofitable on certain issues. Saga was the dream. Saga was reliable money every single month, never got stuck with it.
I know we talked about this before, but what do you think our return numbers will be for Saga?
I think they'll be the high end of what we were at when it stopped coming out, because I feel like there's going to be... The hope is there's a lot of people that have now caught up who have been buying it trade only. And, and what we found when Saga was coming out in comics was that people who essentially past the midpoint of the series, people who were reading it in one format didn't jump to the next format. The first couple arcs... People who read the first trade and then issue 7 came out were like, I gotta see what happens next. But the people who were getting the trades with like volume 6 were like, I'll just get volume 7 in 8 months when it comes out. Like, that's fine. I think we're gonna hopefully see a lot of people who read up through volume 9, 54 issues? I said 49 before. They did 54 issues.
54, yeah.
Who got to 54, and then when 55 comes out are gonna be like, I don't want to have to wait 7 more months to see what happens after that cliffhanger at the end of 54.
I wonder how many people who just started buying it in the compendiums during the pandemic are going to be like, no, I'll wait the years for the next one.
I'll wait another 4 years. Probably not.
Yeah.
I would risk it on the first issue back for Saga. And my hope would be that that BKV and Fiona Staples and Image in general would say, we're going to make that first issue back returnable because no one knows what the sales are going to be. Like, our rule has always been, my rule has always been, if it is a year or more between issues of a sequential series, I'm club only. I'm not risking it. I'm not going to assume that people who are reading it off the rack a year ago are going to come back.
Right.
But
However,
Saga's different. What am I going to do? Not carry Saga?
As they say, the exception to the rule.
Yeah. I mean, we still have people who get very few books who, when they come into the store, will say, have you heard anything about when Saga's coming back?
Yeah.
We haven't. Other than Brian K. Vaughan assures us that Saga is coming back at some point. Yeah, so the answer really is Saga. Saga is the ideal, when it was coming out, was the ideal comic for a comic shop to carry.
That's a good answer.
Thanks, man. Did you have one?
No, I was just going to go Batman, because that's what you had said.
That's what I said before, yeah. I mean, but thinking about it
even,
for a couple
so,
minutes longer, it's Saga.
Oh, and you know what? I cut you off, because you were in the middle of a Batman analogy, but then I blew into it for the Free Comic Day thing. But you were saying Batman, except for something, and I assume it was going to be like announcements of new villains, like Punchline.
No, I think I went into it a little bit. I mean, again, even Batman as a book, which has a pretty high number of regular readers, will have, you know, an event like Joker War, or a first appearance like Punchline, or things that they'll promote as a big deal that ended up being not a big deal, like Miracle Molly. Or you'll have something that goes into an annual, or has a, you know, it doesn't have the same creative team because maybe the writer switches out for an issue, or maybe the artist changes for an arc, or whatever. So there's always these little variables that Saga never had to deal with. Saga was Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, and Photographics or whatever, and
pretty much every issue was a new character debuts.
Right, and it was just this continuing story, and it cost the same amount, and it was the same format, and they had the one cover, and again, it came out like clockwork, until it didn't, and that was a shame. But yeah, Saga would be my hope for how I wish every comic were Saga-ish, I guess.
It's de rigueur in the industry to compare your book with them. Like, oh, it's Saga meets Looper.
Mm-hmm. For example,
it's
pulling one out of a hat.
It is the compare to anything.
Sure, why wouldn't you?
Like, if you're Kiss and you're talking about an album, you say it's
Hot in the Shade. No?
If you're talking about Hot in the Shade, you say, oh, it's like most recent commercially successful album meets Destroyer.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Destroyer is always the...
Not Revenge?
I love Revenge. But when you're promoting an album, you're like, oh, it's like Crazy Nights meets Destroyer.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, you always go back to that.
Sure. Makes sense.
So it's always going to be, oh, it's like X-Men Grand Design meets Saga.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta assume that someone somewhere has a whiteboard and they've got Saga X Batman and then question mark after it, trying to figure out, like, what does that book mean? What does it mean?
How can we do it?
Uh-huh.
I'm curious to see the reaction to Red Room #1 that comes out next week.
Yeah.
The new Ed Piskor book. Because I think it's got a lot of buzz from the...
Piskor's got a lot of fans, dude.
Yeah.
A lot of fans.
But do they shop with us?
They do. I know this because I was amazed at how quickly X-Men Grand Design was selling when that first came out. People who... I mean, this is at a time where, like, there was a point, I want to say, where X-Men Grand Design was our best-selling X-Men book.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
but it also...
some of that's because the line was terrible at that point. Yeah. No one cared. But the amount of non-X-Men fans who were just like, I gotta read whatever Ed Piskor's doing. And Red Room is, I think, an easier sell to them than X-Men Grand Design was.
We went up. We, doubled our numbers, but I wonder if that's even enough.
I hope so. We'll find out.
We definitely will.
Mm-hmm.
I had another request for Nottingham today.
What is that again?
It's like a Source Point horror book or
Can't
something.
Get them, by the way.
Oh, okay.
The orders that we placed, Diamond canceled them all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, order canceled from Diamond.
Wow.
1, 2, and 3, they were like, nope.
That was a new club member who's going to be disappointed.
Yep.
It happens. Definitely happens.
You order after FOC, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's still hard to get people on board with all, not only insider terminology for the industry,
sure,
like Final Order Cutoffs, but to understand the dates and how things work. And it's like, oh, this hasn't come out yet. Can I get one? Well, no, it's too late.
Yeah.
We already had to order it.
I know it hasn't come out yet, but we also can't get it for you because the numbers are locked in.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, this is a great segue.
Are we going to talk about that Venom variant?
No?
We could talk about that later.
Sure, talk about that.
Oh, so one of the Venom variants for Venom 200 was a Rob Liefeld cover.
Oh, yeah.
Except it became an Elizabeth Torque cover. And I like Elizabeth Torque, but you got to figure a lot of the stores that were ordering a Rob Liefeld variant are for fans who want a Rob Liefeld cover, not just any Venom variant. And the fact that Marvel changed it on the Friday before FOC, which means the Friday before the orders closed that Monday, and they were just like, we gave you all the information.
Yeah, but Dal, they sent out a special email specifically for
The
that
Friday before.
to cover their bases.
And like, it's one of those, like, you follow the letter of the law, but not the intent. Like, that is nowhere near enough time for people to... I mean, it's enough for people to cut orders entirely, but, like...
How many stores actually get the Marvel emails?
I guess I'm just more concerned about the idea of... I mean, I don't know if the people who ordered a Rob Liefeld cover are going to want an Elizabeth Torque cover. Do I have to track them down now?
Yeah.
Do I have to hope that they get back to me in the next 3 days to verify an order that they placed? I mean, that book had been rescheduled a bunch of times, so that order was probably placed 2-3 months ago.
Right.
It's been a Rob Liefeld cover for 2 or 3 months until 3 days before FOC. They're like, nope, completely different artist, completely different cover. Here it is.
Well, they just
How many
did
do you
that.
want?
They did a very similar thing with Carnage Black, White, and Red.
Well, that was a mistake.
Was it?
I mean, according to Diamond and Marvel, it was always intended that one cover was going to be the ratio and one was going to be the open order variant. They just somehow, collectively, flipped them.
Oh, that's so weird because so many more people wanted the then ratio variant, but previously open-ended variant because it was Kevin Eastman doing work for Marvel.
Yeah. Which, again, is why probably a lot of stores ordered the open order variant because it was a Kevin Eastman cover, not just because it was a Carnage variant.
Yeah.
And then to find out, no, that's a Kyle Hotz? Who was it? No.
It was John McCrae.
John McCrae Carnage cover. And then the very limited incentive cover was now the Kevin Eastman cover that everybody wanted. Yeah, that stuff's not great. And it's the problem with doing these variant covers is that they are so specific to the artist that when you change the artist at the last minute, you've basically completely changed the book.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like, oh, you made a tiny tweak to the design. It's like you switched out a salad for a steak. Like, these are two different things now. They're both food. That's great. But they're not interchangeable.
All I'm saying is the steak eater picks the pocket of the salad eater every time. That Jeff, order something else. I thought you might do the Jeff line.
I didn't remember what it was.
Okay.
It's been a little while.
Okay, that's fair. What I was going to say is that with the heavy dive into collectibles during the pandemic, and did we talk about Pokemon cards and Target stores
selling them anymore?
And how
that's a bad look for any hobby when dudes are getting jumped in parking lots and then pulling guns on other dudes.
Or
bad look.
Grown adults are tearing into boxes of cereals
to pull out the
freebie promo cards.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
like some of this is just you reap what you sow. You know, like congratulations, you have like the hottest, most collectible thing. They're flying off the shelves, and now everyone's crazy because of it.
Yep,
good work.
It's Szechuan sauce all over again.
So
that's made Pokemon card collecting insane and
toxic.
Super rare, but also harder to get and allocated.
Sure.
But now it seems that allocations are commonplace through the rest of the gaming industry. For the most part, you know, we sell Magic cards. We sell Magic cards, Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. That's it. There's
a thing I was looking at real quick as an aside. Should we be carrying the My Hero Academia card game?
I don't know.
That was just a thing that Southern Hobby...
We probably can't get it.
Well, Southern Hobby was emailing us because the orders closed like in a couple days or something.
Oh, you know what? At no point did they use the words My Hero Academia. It was just...
MHA? You don't know what that
means?
It
was just MHA, and I'm like, we don't carry this.
MMA cards? No, thank you.
I deleted it. I mean, come on.
Mixed martial arts? What even is that?
What is that? Invisible. Invisible kid.
Invisible kid. So, yeah, I mean, I don't... If you were like, absolutely not, that sounds
No, sure, let's give it a try. I don't care.
I mean, My Hero Academia seems pretty popular,
right.
At least as far as the graphic novels and the posters.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll
dig up that email and see what you think. There's a whole bunch of options, and I don't know that I understand them all, so that may be a thing where we have to talk to Garrett and be like, explain this to me.
So Magic cards also have a billion options now. It used to be...
Jesus.
It used to be decks and boosters.
Yeah.
Then they started doing fat packs, which became bundles.
Yeah, but they basically stopped doing decks.
So what they do now is...
Commander decks instead.
They do commander decks. They do bundles. They do draft boosters, which are the regular boosters.
So the old school boosters.
They do set boosters, which are the same thing, just a little more expensive.
They're 15 card packs that are configured in a very specific way, where like there's a slot in each pack that corresponds to different types of cards. So instead of like 15 random cards of different rarities, like you'd get in the draft or original boosters, the set boosters are like, one of these is definitely going to be a foil, and one of these is definitely going to be this kind of alternate art card, and whatever.
Then they do the collector's boosters, which are like $25
which are like
per pack.
All foil, all alternate art, like high-end cards. They are for the whales, for sure.
And then they do different languages and things.
Yeah.
We don't carry the different languages ones, but we have been splitting orders between draft, set, and collectors. Mm-hmm. Draft being the more popular by far.
Yeah. When people want to get together with their friends and play, they want draft boosters, so those sell by the box.
And
set
oftentimes
boosters will sell if we have them, if that's all we've got, or whatever.
Oftentimes, we are told by our gaming company that a thing has got crazy demand. For example, we were told that the current Magic Strixhaven, which, by the way, they didn't even do draft boosters because of a printing issue.
I mean, they haven't released them yet.
Right, they're doing them, but they haven't done them.
Right.
But the next set is the Forgotten Realms crossover, and that's going to be, people care even more than the Strixhaven. Our Strixhaven sales have been pretty flat.
Because we don't have the draft boosters.
Sure.
Look, but that is the main thing we sell, and we don't have it. So
yeah, but
every sale is going to be like, all right.
There were a couple expansions where I didn't know the difference between the ones. We were just getting set boosters, and those sold fine.
Sure.
This is not that. But regardless of that, regardless of perceived hype, we kind of have a standing order for Magic where we get the majority of draft boosters, a couple of bundles, and then random of the other ones, right? So allocations came through for the Forgotten Realms set, which is a set that doesn't come out for a little while yet.
Okay.
And so we talked about this before, right? Yeah.
Well, that was the Modern Horizons one.
No, this the wait, what?
The email that we just got, I think, on Thursday.
That was for Forgotten Realms.
That was for Modern Horizons.
Was it?
Yeah. I'll double check.
Okay.
I was wondering where you're going with this.
Okay. It's possible I'm confused because that's the massive image that's in the signature line at the end of email is the Forgotten Realms ones, but is it Modern Horizons? At any rate, whichever series it is, we were allocated down from our normal order of...
Yeah, it was Modern Horizons.
Oh, geez, okay. Well, it doesn't change the outcome.
True.
I'll just cut to the chase. We were allocated down to zeros on everything except one set booster. One box of set boosters.
Yep.
That's it.
And we'd ordered everything
Zeros
else.
on everything else. And set boosters is the one we just ordered one of.
Yeah. Getting one of those.
So we just said, you know what? Keep it.
Yeah, don't bother.
We don't want just the one box.
We just won't carry Modern Horizons.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
It's so weird, man. I thought it was Forgotten Realms. Yep. Huh. Yeah. Anyway, that's a harsh allocation.
Yeah, I mean, we had that happen with some Pokemon stuff, too, recently, where it was, you are getting nothing of anything.
Yeah. And honestly, Pokemon, I don't care that much about. But Magic, I think, like, Pokemon, there'll be a point where it wanes off, but Magic we've been carrying steadily for years.
Yeah, and it's definitely hurting us in some regard, because, like, we've had people recently who are like, hey, can I get a reservation for this box of Magic cards? And at first we were like, we don't want to take orders because we can't guarantee them. And now we basically had to say, I can't let you pre-order anything because that's all we're getting.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have nothing for the shelf so one person can get them. So, like, Magic and Pokemon are now under the same umbrella as, like, Hasbro figures, where it's like, no pre-orders because I can't guarantee any of it. I don't know what we're getting. I don't know when we're getting it. Just can't do it. Like, it'll be on the shelf. Buy it or don't.
Yep. So that's unfortunate. And, like, I don't blame Southern Hobby because they're put in a terrible situation.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't like Southern Hobby didn't order them. They collected orders from their accounts. They placed those orders with Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast said, great, you're not getting that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
You got to cut somewhere.
Awesome. High five.
You got to cut somewhere, and that includes podcast episodes. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.